being a part of that lovely 5D collective. It involves you choosing love, however it is that you come to that authentic self, whether you maintained it because you got lucky like I did, and so you have secure attachment, whole self. I had Jesus and God and still do. I get to expand consistently with the flow state because of a whole 3-year old heart and a whole 1-year old heart. And then my teenager is not leading in the room. Okay, so the authentic self is when you have the self lens, your core self has no shame button, your narrative, relational, and solo self are owned by you. And so you have mental, emotional, and physical mastery. And that's why mindfulness, mindset practices are really fun. And you have inner and outer well being and intelligence. So intelligence is because of the capacity of a integrated brain, and that pureness is because of embodying unconditional love, embodying pure energy. It's whole 3-year old heart form is what I talk about because you're full of the innocence and of the pizzazz. In fact, our essence brain, our adolescent brain, we move out of the 12 to 24 years of age, but our adolescent spark stays online because you stay enriched when you have integration of the brain and restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, and regulating skills. It's because of the mindful living and the true spirituality life where when you are no more in pursuit of happiness, so in fact we don't pursue happiness, it's an active emotion that we can feel alongside fear, sadness, anger, disgust, surprise, those basic with happiness 6 emotions, and then we add feelings too. And as we mindfully explore them together, we have a safe haven, secure base. That's for my monoamory and polyamory crew. We're self-regulating people. So functional adult love language, and so happiness is a consistency because fulfillment is a consistency. And we're going to look at some Sadhguru quotes before we keep moving forward, just because they're really good and fun. And this one is really nice. Hold on. So, when you are no more in pursuit of happiness, you are joyful by your own nature. You'll know of this if you are already embodying your inner child adult. So we're playful, and our oversoul helps us to get here. 5D intuitives, those who are intuitives tend to be ones that have clairs, so we channel, and we use right and left together, and we will notice the energetic imprint of the people who are around us. Sadhguru finishes up with, then your action is as the world needs it, not the way you want it. So he knows what it means for a person when you're embodying the true spirituality life. You live a life of meaning, connection beyond the solo self, and you are with kind intention thinking of the whole world and whatever your role may be. So in my case, I'm an online marketer, online entrepreneur, content creator, spiritual self-help, mentor, podcast host, again, mindfulness, okay? That's my stuff. And it's a bunch of different things to support people for their inner and outer well-being. For all I know, you might be an engineer. You're still valuable. You might be a scientist, okay? So we all have ways that we contribute. Human beings, on the other hand, who don't do dharma, but they do karma, so they're unconscious, subconscious. Their inner child is not in the forefront. They haven't reparented. They did not get out of a core self with shame. They don't know their self-lens, so they don't know how to commit. They don't actively do anything. They are inactive inside and out, and they do not break away from their self-created boundaries. They will remain trapped in them. They actively will say, no, our reality is the true one. So we leave alone adaptive and maladaptive child patterns of behavior and behaviors. We don't pathologize. We don't need to demonize, blame Lucifer. Lucifer has nothing to do with people. It is. I'm trying something out. Pause for the effect. When people don't learn about good trauma information and they don't choose to go and get their misery healed, only in misery is life too long, in joy it's too brief. Okay, so we do have choices. In the year 2024, we have a lot of good information out there. of how when people work with their unfinished business, the adaptive child, they will get their body back, they will get their inner peace, they will get their energy. So when you are wholehearted, that's when you'll know why mindfulness, mindsight, and mindset self-help, spiritual practices or not spiritual, if you're a secular person, will be supportive. Some people, they do childhood trauma stuff and then they say, I don't want to do it, Maria. I really don't. I like to have laundry. It's your choice. The motivation to do emotions is yours. That's why you choose that, not based on a need. It'll be based on the desire. So I'm not needed. My role is something that a person can want to have. And unlike those who make mindfulness, mindset, and anything within our 5D mystic, holistic, and spiritual planes fancy, or even the neuroscience with the therapy, they romanticize. I'm not romanticizing. I'm going to tell you straight up. You either want to do the work or you don't. If you don't, it's cool. You don't have to, because there are plenty of people who find it fucking boring to be in their well-being. They also find it hard to believe the first 3 years of life. So people who don't want to own their sense of self or their solo self or embody their unconditional love, they're going to tell you why, and you leave it alone. 5D, we don't use our time to try and have anyone be blissful or happy or delightful or any of that all the time. But we are. The 5D collective, we are actively here, always in a state of enlightenment vibration, because it's open-heartedness, it's mind, heart, body, harmony. And that's called restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating, with the capacity to have an integrated brain. It's your mammalian heritage. It's invigorating, it's energizing, and it is your choice. So people who don't choose to heal, for example, they don't go to therapy and then they project their unfinished business. Okay, with that, we, on the other hand, choose the vibration of love, we choose the authentic self, we choose inner and outer well-being, and we choose intelligence. And that's why we will be anchoring in and have consistently been anchoring in this vibration. I've been a 5D mystic since the beginning of Claire's, and even before Claire's, I already had my light body. My first experience was with my lovely confirmation. I didn't know about anything mystic related. In fact, had you told me, Maria, you're going to have Claire's, I'm like, yeah, whatever. You're kidding. I knew a tarot reader as a teenager. They told me all about my boyfriend cheating on me, and that was a fun story that my lovely regular listeners have heard all about. So vibing at the frequency of the heart, body, and mind in harmony, that is with your feminine and masculine embodied and expressed, is the 5D way. We choose bliss and enriching relationships with true love and being you with flaws and integrity. And again, we will be and are actively anchoring in this love, this pure consciousness vibration, and this expanding of our lovely intelligence and bringing science and spirituality all together. And then a little storytelling, and you can tune into the other episodes of the day. I have a lot of lovely food for thought and channeled guidance if you're curious about it. But you vibe at the enlightenment, unconditionally loving vibration that pure consciousness holds as you choose to be here amongst those of us who want to have that frequency. And that's because you know about those 6 basic human emotions, and then the safe haven, secure base, masculines and feminines come together. When you embody wholeness as a feminine, I always know the masculines and the feminines intuitively. Doesn't mean that in the moment, if I'm put on the spot, and I have been, where somebody says, so what am I to your oversoul? Now I'm trying to be polite as well, because I've just been asked by another person who's a mammal, what do I mean to you? Which makes me aware as a feminine, a nurturer, that you are looking for a connection. And I actively will be put on the spot. Then I pause and I answer. And I will answer honestly, even if you don't like my answer. So with that, masculines that are welcoming their feminine, they're the ones we enjoy because they go with the flow like we do. So they're curious, they're playful, and they don't have rigidity when it comes to talking about sciences and spirituality. They also don't have humbug, so they don't treat a feminine with cold and silent and not, you know, what's the word that I'm looking for? Oh, masculines that are not yet embodying their wholeness are cold and sensitive and manipulative in ways that are arrogant with the ego, which adds to their cold and insensitive nature. So their shame, blame, fault, revenge leads the way. It's like having Cusco. Okay, so just Cusco without the end, where he gets awakened to wanting to be the best version of himself, which is a Pacha. For the feminine, they are the squirrels from Cusco land. Okay, so that's the feminine and masculine distorted energies. We got Cusco and squirrel. For the feminine and masculine embodied energies, we got Pacha. That's how I'm going to, okay, now I'm going to integrate another role for the ones with clairs. Well, I'm going to use Maria because of all of my experiences since I was a teen. Again, now that I can look to the past, I can notice where clairs were already a part of my journey, and the relationship with the Holy Spirit and Jesus and God and my own channeling without using words of, anointed, not anointed. So spiritual gifts, clairs, and scientists, neuroscientists explain our intuitive nature. That doesn't dismantle or doesn't dismantle or disprove God, the spiritual plane, all of that. It simply adds knowledge. So the 5D collective, we add knowledge and we know what's from ancient time, and we will notice the energetic imprint of it. The 5D intuitive feminine is always with the earth, navigating her same frequency. I began ascending with the earth as she moved into the 5D vibration. And then that's each one of my clairs. I remember the root chakras, what it started with. And I already had Twin Flame 1. Eventually, Twin Flame 2 came. That was when we were doing heart chakra. And this was at a certain other point where there were more ascension energies. And then Twin Flame 3 came in at, again, another expansion moment. And so with the earth, once it moved into the complete 5D vibration, I knew that day because I felt it on my body. And I was opened up to also the galaxy and beyond. And it was Twin Flame 3 that I actively got to experience that Kundalini awakening. And I got to also be aware of my expansion. It was amazing when I had this dream. And that's when you start to also, for the feminine, to settle in to more of all. It was not destabilizing, and that's because the 5D collective has a secure attachment body and an integrated brain. I want to be specific because there's the capacity to stay in your prefrontal cortex, so your body is not experiencing any of structural or clinical dissociation. While what I've noticed 4D collective, they don't perceive their clairs with well-being. And so for me, the neuroscientists that explain what our flow state is, I know when effortless, because we have selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and then richness, when your brain goes into flow state. And effortlessness is when you will be a little bit like, your body's like, where's my self? Because you're selfless. And then there's no time. Where's time? Time is here. The body is an intelligence. And so at effortlessness, the body is destabilized. Also, your energy body expands. So I had a number of light body expansions after my confirmation. I had confirmation, I was 16. My first other light body was about 27, if not 28. I need to go watch my timeline. And then I got more, and then I remember when I got the rainbow body. Then I got to another 2 or 3. And at that point, I had been, my heart got taken, if you will, got to go on a trip, and I got then given back my rainbow heart from my indigo rainbow child. And it's not a child, but that's how I'm going to call them. So the indigo child baby gave me my rainbow heart. And that was in about a year's time. And it looks a lot like our Merkaba card. Let me see if I can find it for you, which I love that card. So when you are, again, a feminine, you don't have questions, you have answers. You also don't need to talk about yourself as a guru because I'm thinking about that one. Hold on, because you know that you don't have to use fancy words. When you're embodying your humanity, you're embodying not only humble, you're a pure channel, and you acknowledge that you are going to always be a part of the equation. So I'm Maria with being a channel. This is that lovely Merkaba. So the frequency of Merkaba supports our ability to use our consciousness to traverse into other layers of reality and dimensions. It activates our access to our Akashic inheritance as well, merging the totality of our experiences into our present to serve our highest purpose. And the highest purpose of any feminine and masculine that is here is going to be to believe in each other with compassion, because we are embodying that Christ consciousness where we got taught how to unconditionally love each other with flaws and, again, integrity and imperfections. The realization that we all are allowed to return home to our true nature. That's where the people that choose it, they choose to come home to their true self, but some don't. And that's none of our business, okay? Consciousness and integration of the brain is what brings about consistent expansion and change, which is why we don't feel changed. As an intuitive, I don't feel changed. I look back and feel more of what I have always been. And let me think, I was going to tell you another story before we get out of our episodes with daylight time. The vibration of love. It's when a person chooses who to be based on their true sense of self, though. They have their 1-year-old, they have their 3-year-old. If you do not own all of your child parts yet, you won't be able to embody your 5D-ness, because you don't have the heart, body, mind, the somatic harmony. And this is why it's very important for all of those who are 5D holistic practitioners to be in the networks with the good therapists and the good holistic practitioners. They're good because they expand, empower, and we know about human evolution in the sense of our species. You know how every day something builds, and then when we look to the past, we see what was written. So when I knew of what was going to take place, I also intuitively knew our history books won't be writing about it the way the mystics talk about it, because sciences is what academia looks into, right? The left brain is there because it organizes information, and also that's our verbal part. The right brain, and they work together, but the right, it's where our nonverbal. And here's why: if someone says to a person who knows, I know I'm emotional first, that we're stupid because we navigate life from emotions, we will accept that word without being offended, because we'll know what the left brain of the person means. We also will know, though, that we're not stupid. We're just different in how we take in information and then present it. And also, it's more about the complementary forces that the masculine and feminine have. And so a person who's a 5D intuitive doesn't feel stupid for feeling first. The masculine, once they are also intuitive, they will know how feelings work, because now they own their own self, okay? And here's where feminine always knows that our oversoul, independently from what it looks like on the outside, is supporting us to optimize and maximize our very own embodiment of both energetic spectrums, the feminine of me and the masculine of me. And then that they complement me. That I find once the masculines around me are embodying their wholeness. And that's because they will know how to use their strengths, and their weakness is no longer a weakness, because they have welcomed that they are vulnerable just as much as the feminine is. And for the feminine, we also will not have that weakness of disregarding structure and organization and the balance. Okay? And the balance is you choose love or you choose fear. If it's unfaced fear, it means you choose silence and you choose to disregard another human being and their mental, emotional, and physical importance. And so you choose to disregard true spirituality life or to disregard and disengage from mindfully living. And that is an active option that a person can have, right? So you choose to not engage in a 5D frequencies. How am I going to put it? You choose to disengage from actualizing your capacity to be in your prefrontal cortex when emotions and thoughts come up, and to have a soft inner dialogue, which involves the inner growth mindset and your own self-exploration, and then a soft dialogue with the external, which involves functional adult, inner child, adult love language. Self-regulating and moving consistently into your restorative embodiment self is your choice. You don't have to be in your optimized inner or outer well-being. Your body is seeking to return to that, but there's a number of people who don't want to put in the best foot forward because they want life to start now. They find fancy ways to do mindfulness, to do integration, but when you find fancy ways, you're not embodying your humanity, you see? Because anytime you go through an experience, you as the person who's watching this, it's only when you have welcomed the emotional depth of the experience alongside the mental depth, and then you are comfortable while sitting with it. Also, we are mammals, and that's why you will want to have the capacity to share it with a good therapist or a safe haven, secure based connection. And that is because it's a fragment of yours, or it's a moment of meaningful life. In either or cases, the ability to be seen by another allows you to be soothed as you are lovingly accepted just the way you are. You don't have to work for love. You're experiencing the unknowns, unexpecteds of life and unwanteds, or whatever. You're having an emotion that has reason for being there. You are living a meaningful life when you are embodying the whole masculine or the whole feminine. Means you want to see it. The ones who are not, they suppress it by fucking, drinking, drugging, by not you don't do anything, no action, like no action, and they sit with it and they just it's nothing. Yeah, it is something. Okay, when you minimize, that's you not allowing yourself to take something that took place and enrich yourself with it because you choose to disregard sharing it. So putting that aside, when you have the enriching relationships, it's very important because that's what life is all about. It's the ordinary. The simple things are not so simple when you're mindfully aware from the depths of your enriching emotional plane. This is your divine feminine, your body. So somatics, this body mind, however far you want to take it, it's going to depend on when you do get the sadness, the anger, the disgust, the happiness, surprise, the fear. So I'm going to say that these four are the ones that can be a lot more challenging because surprise can be good and happiness obviously is something that is welcome. These are the ones that, well, that's why we have a Zen master tells you about laundry, because sadness to him is laundry. Disgust, I don't know, depends how you're able to work to get to that equanimity. But long story short, when I'm experiencing a moment of life or if something's coming up, a sensation, an image of affect, a meaning, and a behavior, I'm going to want to share it because I will enjoy to be able to be enriched in that moment and to have made a lasting memory. For example, this is also why for those of us who go and have the capacity to experience many different things as an intuitive, when it comes to clairs and masculines and moments of deep, deep enriching channeling, my astral travel, whenever I have some Akashic download, I'm picking up on the collective. I can notice what's happening. Okay, so these are enriching experiences because I'm seeing them, I'm soothing, I'm safe and secure as a mystic. I'm not looking for thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm not destabilized because I know everything's okay. That's the part of why we're in a flow state. So 5D vibe, 5D intuitive doesn't share with those who are disrupted from flow by their broken heart. So people who don't heal their inner child wounds, they have a broken heart. They have shame, blame, fault, revenge. They always have something negative to say about people. They have something negative. So anytime somebody's negative, they're disrupting my flow state actively, which is why I will not. And I know the ones in the narrow states of consciousness. This is where we learn how to disengage from sharing what our flow state is carrying, because I will be dumbed down and I will be brought a lower vibe and I will be brought a small-minded something, and that will have stifled whatever is meant to be going outward, which is why those masculines and feminines that are 5D vibing are instead who I will go to with my flow state, because they are curious, open, accepting, loving, but they're also present, and then they have intelligence. So they're smart and they're emotionally happy to be here, and they're blissful and delightful. So that's where differentiated selves, we come together and create fireworks. And that's amazing. And those, when you have mystics, this is where those masculines who own their feminines, and so they do understand that our roles are important for each other. Again, we welcome those parts that are ready to come home for those who welcomed themselves home. That's why you only choose love when you've chosen to be who you are with the people you love, and to move into becoming a functional adult, as an inner child adult with unconditional love here at our lovely IHP community, because some people don't believe in unconditional love, so they don't want to implement it. When you have the events that take place that are meaningful, you want to share them with the people who are part of them. And it's not because you want the thumbs up or thumbs down as a differentiated self. It's because the depths of life is what you have lived when you are mindfully aware of yourself. And when you're a mystic, you will be aware of a lot of other lifetimes and of, again, the future. And it's full of bliss and delight and pizzazz. But you'll only be able to share it with a human being. It has to be a human, otherwise it's not going to count. I know some people, they like to live in the stars and all that. No, that's not you embodying what I'm talking to you about. If you're a 5D divine feminine, you know about 5D divine masculines. You will not be engaging with any of divine masculines or divine feminines that are not vibing at 5D by the time you're able to understand where their frequency lies. Because I'm a vibe, you're a vibe. And if you don't own your inner child and you're not a whole heart, I'm going to know, because you're going to start tainting all of what is coming out of my mouth with this low vibration of suffering and sadness and anger and this and that. And you're not actively looking at emotions are part of the experience of life. So you're not looking at the emotion because you're not regulating into your social engagement system with the emotions. Our 6 basic human emotions served our survival. They still serve us, but now we're not one with the forest. At least some of us are not. Okay, so those emotions play a different role. And as embodied masculines and feminines, those who are divine and embodying their wholeness, they're full-fledged, enriching within and out. So when we use the words emotions, we're not calling them laundry. Our bodies don't suffer because we're not using our temporal junction. We're using a prefrontal cortex as we explore. It's not cold and it's not emotionless. It is the depth of emotion shared in the absence of your survival mode on. The people who are mindfully aware in this enlightenment vibration, they will know what I'm talking about, because they will perceive it themselves as I'm describing it. A person who experiences this will know what I'm talking about. Like I will know when somebody says, I don't No, I will always notice if somebody's in a narrow state of consciousness and a lower vibration because they don't have a big energy body. Very small. It's like electricity, but it's not just electricity. Um, Let me think. So it's like having an electric current. You can see it go in like the, you know how we have plugs, light bulb. Okay, light bulb. When you see okay, so imagine the little lines. That's a narrow state of consciousness. That's what it looks like. Perceives like nothing. Now, bring me a divine masculine or divine feminine, and I will give you a rainbow with depth, with honey. It's not even honey. I want to try and describe this because it is well, I'm a Reiki master, so I also know of how to tap into energy. But, okay, it is not only like, air when they're blowing air in your face like a fan. So it's like you can feel it. Okay, that, but it's not aggressive. But it's basically where you can hold energy, and it's like a rainbow, and it's full of color, and it's full of love. The oxytocin gene hormone, not lust. Lust is a yucky energy for those of us who know love, and actively yucky. Yucky, because of a lot of things. One of them I'm not going to talk about right now. So what I was going to conclude us with is basically where when you experience something, you want to share it, one, with the people who are part of it. So like when I do have downloads, I get the honor to share with some of my masculines because they don't they don't minimize it. They don't minimize it, and they also respect it. So my masculine friend, the one that he asked a lot of questions about how things are moving along. And then he also provided that which a masculine will provide, which is the context of remembering there are those who are healing and making use of the support that a feminine can share. There are those who don't, and so be aware and just remember, masculines are always structured. We call that stingy. But we get it because they come from that other end of the spectrum. So when you come from shame to get out of shame, you will have had a different relationship. That's why you think love is conditional when it's not. So again, as a feminine, they're stingy with their love. But we know what they're trying to impart, the wisdom that they're trying to share. So they think we're not, they think it's too much. Like, you don't understand. There's never too much love. You can't give too much. That's the illusion. The illusion of the masculine is that you can stifle, like the illusion of and this is act. So when we have masculines or feminines who are not embodying their wholeness, they live with the illusion that you can do something wrong when it comes to supporting self and growth. Okay? They think you need to shame each other. They think fear the individuals who are not empowered with intelligence. The capacity to be empowered with intelligence means, again, you use your left and right, not just one side of the brain. You can regurgitate to me everything. You're not intelligence. You regurgitating is just that I might as well go to a computer. The embodied masculine and feminine know that there's no need for shaming, that it exists. It served a role. It can still serve a role. Doesn't have to be used. You actively are already going to be presenting to a person equanimously what is okay or not okay with the behavior. And the behavior is brought about, if it's adaptive or maladaptive, due to already the person having a broken heart. So they have a defectiveness, shame, trust break, trauma. Something already is weighing them down, which is why they don't do more if you shame, blame, fault, revenge. Not only is it a low vibration, it is the same vibration of inactivity, which is why people choose to silence themselves and not talk to people, which is why divine feminines don't have the 5D mystic here. I will let you in on the fun fact that we don't have drama or saga with any of our oversoul. We have emotions, and then we have perceptions. We will disrupt and disengage from communication in general, talking is what I'm saying, with all that do not navigate their flow state. In how many years? Two, 2 years or 3, I learned the difference between those who are in flow state and those who are not, from those who are within the Claire's community, is how I'm going to put it. And then I also learned those who are consistently humbug and those who are not. So humbug is no flow state. You're going to dumb me down. You're going to slow me down. You're going to taint shit. I don't need your shit because you're actually not doing anything of 5D, and yet you want to talk about it. But you're not in action. You're inactively because your self-regulating skills are not improving. If you have clairs, you are mastering mental, emotional, plane, and physical. Means you're grounding yourself in an integrated brain and restorative embodiment self. This is why when Sadhguru says, if you overflow in your humanity, you overflow with divinity, he doesn't know the psych education I do. It's called you get to integrate your brain, have consistent consciousness flow because you're a person who has healthy self-worth. You know about your implicit bias, all the bias. You're a human. You put it all here. You don't have a sensitive ego. You don't walk on eggshells. You don't get offended if somebody calls you any of those names. You actually laugh when people keep blaming Lucifer. It's so reductive. It's not even funny. How little imagination people have. And really, if you're going to have any type of conversation, don't use your imagination. How about you use your words as you engage in, again, a conversation with someone? Because we don't need imagination. I can use imagination, but when we have flowing individuals, it's the most amazing and enriching of experiences. They choose love, they choose the authentic self, that inner and outer well-being and intelligence. And so we'll know who those people are. As a person with clairs, you'll know who they are because they will look at humanity and see where we're headed. And they will look, it's not rainbow glasses. It's we are connected and know that life always leads itself to more life. And so our oversoul, masculines of all and feminine of all, they will lead us to become more of who we wanted to be in the first place. That's why you don't lose yourself. You don't lose the connection when you're a 5D intuitive, because you maintain love as a state of being, because it's your oxytocin gene hormone, because you maintain, I'm a self-empowered, enlightened human being who has secure attachment. I'm confident. As a teenager, I noticed what confidence did. I didn't back down. I'm a grown-up. I still notice what confidence does. I don't back down. It's very different from grandiosity people. The only people who don't know the difference are the very same ones who we're not going to bother telling them, because 5D intuitive divine feminine doesn't talk to narrow states of consciousness. We notice them, and we notice that they are not kind, they are not smart, they get into a mood. So Cuscos and squirrels are going to become, because again, the not empowered masculines and feminines are those types. Pacha will recognize, and once you get one pattern, they're all the same. It's also why 5D feminine is humbled by 5D masculines, humbled by 5D feminines, humbled by sciences of smart, humbled by all of those who remind us that we are a collective, and some of us get to be in the vibe of love, enlightenment, bliss, delight, because we will have chosen to consistently maintain our heart body, value body, or to return home to our true self and maintain it. And that is through seeing, soothing, keeping each other safe and secure to be ourselves. And so our authentic conversations, and as we close on out, it's always beautiful to have heart to heart with masculines that are masculines, like with feminines. But as I want to thank the masculines, because as a feminine, you compliment me all. Feminines, I want to also thank you, of course, but we come together knowing already what we're here to nurture. And it's always beautiful to see how we are nurturing it into existence, and to know that we don't know everything, but we know that as long as we get to wake up tomorrow, we have 24 more hours. Masculines humble and empower us when they're masculines. And when they have mystic stuff, that's when it gets more for the ones of us who are mystics. And it's because of the capacity to be differentiated selves and then talk about the experiences that come within a plane of invisibility that we don't identify with, but that we embody and that we have experience and that we experience. And this also includes when we have life moments with those masculines. And that is whether you have had splinters or ruptures. So one of my most favorite conversations that I had was with one of my masculine friends when we came back together after 5 years. And that was the only time, because from that moment forth, I just realized that masculines that don't embody their whole self don't know how to tell you anything in your face. And that is how it moved along. So from that conversation, I haven't had any of those individuals future forward. But what I was trying to get to, it's nice to have heart-to-heart conversations. It's nice to be able to tell all of what you think, all of what you feel, all of what has the enriching emotional experience. So it's not one emotion, I'm saying everything. When you have relationships, you will notice how they grow stronger in time when you are able to enrich by sharing those emotions, but also by accepting that you're made differently. So you learn to feel loved even though you have a different way of being and living, but you talk about it. And here's where feminines and masculines alike, I have a completely different schedule than other people. As an entrepreneur who works from home, online, throughout the years, I've been able to ensure that those who are my loved ones understand, and they do, but we talk about it. So people who want to be a part of your life, they don't choose silence. They don't stay away from you, and they don't deflect and avoid conversations. Anytime that happens, it's a very straightforward 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5. Then I'm going to understand that your silence is the choice that is part of your journey, which is a different frequency. And that's a secure connection that you build, but it's not going to be a depth of connection. And that's just in general. And at that, I'm going to leave so that you still see me since the light is going out. We will have potentially a late HP show in a little bit. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you had a wonderful day and that you're having a wonderful day. If it's still daytime, like, share, and subscribe so we can grow the channel. And when membership content is out, you can expect it to be something like the ones that you're seeing, the longer ones. And that way you can already notice if you are intrigued, if it adds that value, and we will have other options for membership content. Of course, you know about the Ask Maria, the opinionated columnist episode. It's kind of like, Dear Abby, here's what I'm going through. Can you support me? Da 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 da. Can you give me some food for thought? And then for one-to-one mentorship, you can email me. And for the masterclass, which will be a closed number, and for a spiritual retreat, it's in my brain, thinking about it, not yet, but if you're curious, start writing me so that we can start having a communicative effort and I can start having a list as well. Thank you again and see you soon.